Happy learning, virtual learners! Welcome to Valenzuela Live in English 10. I hope you're having a good day and that you are doing fine together with your other family members. For today's session, we will be focusing on this most essential learning competency. Determine the effects of textual aids like advanced organizers, titles, non-linear illustrations, etc. on the understanding of a text. While these are our specific objectives, present information using tables, graphs, and maps, and compare new insights with previous learnings. We will use the Alternative Delivery Mode Quarter 1 module prepared by Ma'am Leia D. Odocayen, a master teacher from Vicente P. Trinidad National High School. Lesson 2, Determine the effects of textual aids. So, we will be dealing with the different types of advanced organizers and their purposes. You may also ask questions after the discussion, and I would willingly answer them later in the question and answer part. But please make sure that you will only ask something which is relevant to our discussion and be mindful of your choice of words. For now, allow me to find out how many active learners we currently have. So for your attendance, please type or key in hashtag acronym of your school, your section, and the day-to-day. Just like what you see on the screen. Always keep in mind the word respect because that is what we need as we go along our discussion. Are you ready? Great! Let's begin. What comes into your mind when you hear the term information overload? Have you ever had trouble in trying to understand your notes when studying for an exam or even just when sitting in class while listening to the discussant? Surely, these are just some of the situations in which you experience information overload. Sometimes learning everything that's required can be overwhelming and seem nearly impossible. Even if you are provided with all the information, it can be hard to remember everything. But what do you usually do to avoid information overload? Maybe some of you will say, you set limits. Well, that's good. Focus on a specific topic at hand. Don't multitask. There's something called the 2-minute rule, which means spending only 2 minutes on a task. This is essentially giving yourself limits. One problem with information is that today, there's always more and it's easily accessible. From respected sources to anecdotal references, expert advice, and commentary to opinions and rants, there's no end to any subject. But you can put an end to that with this time management strategy. Give yourself boundaries. Which citations are valuable and which are not. Also, how much time is worth the question and when does that time become an impediment to deciding? Again, focus on the subject at hand and don't multitask. But give the question the time it deserves and then pull the trigger on the decision. Another thing is clearing your mind. If you don't clear your head, the important information will have a harder time clearing the hurdles of all the mental debris. Therefore, a regular brain dump is a great way to reset your head and keep that pesky information overload at bay. And lastly, to avoid information overload, you need to manage your information. Be more selective and prioritize your information. It's like when you get a message, most likely, you can tell from the sender and the message's content whether it needs a quick response or if you can put it aside for a while. Then, have a dedicated period during the day in which you can go through your correspondences. See, managing information is very essential. And another way to do that is by using advanced organizers. Let us first define what advanced organizer is. Advanced organizer is an instructional unit that is used before direct instruction or before a new topic. Basically, advanced organizers can be as simple as a teacher's background discussion before introducing a new concept or a list of tasks to be done by the learners. Next, as stated by Egan and Kauchak, advanced organizer is like cognitive roadmaps that allow students to see where they have been or where they are going. So as mentioned, advanced organizers act as frameworks for helping students understand what it is that they will be learning. Moreover, advanced organizer is considered as an intellectual scaffolding for subsequent learning and acts as a subsuming bridge between new learning material and existing related ideas. But why intellectual scaffolding? It is because advanced organizer can be a support or guide given to the students by the teacher throughout the learning process. It does not just act as a review or what was covered in the previous discussion, but it is a tool that helps students connect the known to the unknown. Advanced organizer is also a visual, title, graph, or question which presents a structure for the new material by relating it to the learner's existing knowledge. Advanced organization may simply be provided by means of clear teacher instructions. However, as the definition says, they are often presented as visual or graphic organizers, which we will be discussing a little later. Lastly, advanced organizer is a deductive teaching model designed to teach interrelated bodies of content and generalizations. David Osobel, a psychologist who advanced a theory which contrasted meaningful learning from rote learning. In Osobel's view, to learn meaningfully, students must relate new knowledge or concepts and propositions to what they already know. He proposed the notion of an advanced organizer to help students link their ideas with new material or concepts. Now let us proceed with the main purpose of advanced organizer. Generally, advanced organizer is used to influence cognitive processing in several ways, including but not limited to providing prerequisite knowledge or helping learners to make connections between incoming information and prior knowledge. I would like to emphasize the term cognitive process. An advanced organizer is not a summary or review of a previous lesson, nor provides a structure for the current lesson. Instead, it provides a structure for student thinking. It acts as a conceptual bridge from the old information to the new information. There are several types of advanced organizer that we use in our teaching and learning process, and I think you are familiar with some of them. Let's begin with expository organizer. This type of advanced organizer is used to present new detailed information as opposed to making connections with previously introduced information. It can be used when a topic to be discussed is unfamiliar or new to students. It happens when a teacher presents a new lesson on a topic that has never been discussed, and it helps students make connection to what they may already know. Example: prior to presenting information on how coronavirus disease affects different people in different ways, an advanced expository organizer would first briefly describe what coronavirus disease is. It may explain what COVID-19 is, how long it will last, and what are its symptoms. Through this, the students will be able to connect what they already knew about the said topic to what will be discussed by the teacher. Another is comparative organizer. Comparative organizer is designed to discriminate between the old and the new concepts to avoid confusion caused by their similarity. This kind of organizer is presented when the material is relatively familiar or when the new ideas will be integrated with prior knowledge. For example, If you learn about the severe acute respiratory syndrome and new information is given about coronavirus disease, you will be able to compare and contrast them to understand their differences, thus integrating existing knowledge with the new knowledge. Next is narrative organizer, which presents the new information in the format of a story. At the beginning of the class, the teacher might tell an interesting story that relates to important concepts in the lesson. This also uses a personal connection to inspire learning. As we all know, stories can make something distant or unfamiliar seem personal and familiar. Stories can also stimulate your thinking and help them make personal connections to the new information. The power of storytelling is used to engage and inform. The teacher makes frequent bridging connections between the story and students' lives. After the story, the teacher highlights the key ideas. This approach taps into students' prior knowledge for better assimilation of new material. An example is this. Before discussing an article about COVID-19, the teacher will first tell a story about her friend who served as a medical frontliner during the pandemic and share her sacrifices and struggles. Through this, the story serves as a way for the students to activate their knowledge about the said topic. Skimming is another type of advanced organizer. This happens when the teacher provides the learners with the opportunity to skim over the information that is about to be introduced, focusing only on the highlighted information. Do you ever feel like you spend way too much time reading? Do you have trouble determining which parts of a text are the most important? Do you wish you could collect information from books in a quicker and more efficient way? If so, consider skimming the next time you sit down to read a text. Sometimes you are given time to skim an article paying close attention to heading, subheading, or the first sentence of every paragraph. This will help you become more aware of what information you will be learning when you read the entire article thoroughly. We also have the graphic organizers. These are used as a method of presenting information in the visual realm. They are efficient because they highlight and focus on just the important aspects, and they also show relationships between necessary information. Can you recall some of the graphic organizers you've already encountered before? That's right. We have the Venn diagram, which uses overlapping circles or other shapes to illustrate the logical relationships between two or more sets of items. Let us have an example. As mentioned, Venn diagram uses overlapping circles. So let's determine the similarities and differences between flu and COVID-19. On the left side, we must put information about flu, while details about COVID-19 should be placed on the other one. Let's try to fill out this Venn diagram on details regarding flu and COVID-19. So first, how do flu and COVID-19 differ when it comes to their symptoms? Excellent. Flu begins 1 to 4 days after exposure, while COVID-19 begins 1 to 14 days after exposure. What about their cause? Awesome! Flu is caused by influenza virus, while COVID-19 is caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. And in terms of complications, flu is less likely to occur because of immunity buildup over time. On the other hand, severe respiratory complications may come severely quickly if a person is infected by COVID-19. But what should be written on the overlapping part? Very good. Their similarities. Both COVID-19 and flu are transmitted by respiratory droplets by an infected person and can cause fever, cough, and fatigue. What else are the other graphic organizers that you know? We also have concept map, in which concepts or ideas are represented in circles or boxes and are linked to related ideas with arrows. Most concept maps represent a hierarchical structure with the most general concepts or ideas presented at the top of the map and the more specific or sub-ideas presented below. In constructing a concept map, you must first think of a topic. So, let's say our topic is again COVID-19. After that, do a quick brainstorm. What are the facts, ideas, concepts, themes, queries, etc. that come to your mind when you think about this topic? You may indicate its symptoms like fever, coughing, loss of smell or taste, headache, and sore throat. Risk factors may also be enumerated. Close contact with an infected person and being coughed or sneezed by an infected person too. And its complications: pneumonia, organ failure, heart problems, blood clots, and acute kidney injury. As soon as you completed all these details, you may now start to draw the map and connect the concepts. Another example of graphic organizer is the fishbone diagram. Did you know that fishbone diagram is also called Ishikawa diagram? It is created in 1943 by Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa at the University of Tokyo. It can help in brainstorming to identify possible causes of a problem and in sorting ideas into useful categories. You would notice that the diagram looks just like a fish's skeleton with the effect or problem at its head and the causes for the problem feeding into the spine. Next is the plotline graphic organizer. It is an organizational tool focusing on a pyramid or triangular shape, which is used to map the events in a story. This mapping of plot structure allows readers and writers to visualize the key features of stories. This also includes the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Just a quick recall. Exposition usually occurs at the beginning of a short story. Here, the characters are introduced. We also learn about the setting of the story. Most importantly, we are introduced to the main conflict or the main problem. Rising action is the part of the story in which conflicts begin to develop. Also, building of interest or suspense occurs in this part. Climax is known to be the turning point of the story. Usually, the main character comes face to face with the conflict. The main character will change in some way. All loose ends of the plot are tied up in the falling action part. The conflict and the climax are taken care of. And the story comes to a reasonable ending or resolution. And lastly, we have the KWL chart, an advanced organizer that helps students organize information before, during, and after a topic or a lesson. They can be used to engage students in a new topic, activate prior knowledge, share unit objectives, and monitor students' learning. This chart is divided into 3 columns. The first column is intended for you to write what you already know about a certain topic. On the second, you may write what you want to know about it. After the lesson, you may accomplish the third column by writing what you have learned. So, now that you already knew what Advanced Organizer is and familiarized yourselves with its purpose and different types, let us sum up our discussion with this diagram. As you can see, Advanced Organizers have the power to touch three major areas of the learning process: prior knowledge, organizing new information, and receiving new information. Prior knowledge is the true power of the advanced organizer. Students know what to expect or know what to look for when they encounter new information. In organizing new information, students make connections between their prior knowledge and the new information they are learning. The advanced organizer also allows them to effectively organize and understand what they have been taught. In receiving new information, students learn something new in the form of direct instructions. Remember, advanced organizer is not just a simple overview or a review. It is a tool that helps us connect what we know, what we do not know, and what we are about to learn. If you have questions or you want to clarify something about what has been discussed, you are free to type your concerns on the comment section and I will answer them as much as I can. A minute will be given for you to send your queries, and our teacher moderator will be gathering them. Your 1 minute starts now. Your time's up. I hope you were able to send your questions. Thank you so much to our teacher moderator who gathered them. If in case your question will not be addressed today, do not worry because it will be discussed by your English teacher on the follow-up discussion. I will now start reading some of your questions and answer them as well. The first question is from Kanuma East National High School. If we are asked to get the main idea and the supporting details of a certain text, what is the best type of advanced organizer to be used? Okay. Getting the main idea of a selection is an important skill because it helps us to better understand what we are reading. Whenever you are asked by your teacher to get the text's main idea and supporting details, you may consider the use of graphic organizer. Aside from those types of graphic organizers which I mentioned earlier, we also have this main idea and supporting details web or chart. From the title itself, this is an organizer which helps you identify the main idea of a text and the details that support it. Next question comes from Mapulang Lupa National High School. How important is using advanced organizer if we want to learn new things? Okay, to learn new things, you must first activate your prior knowledge, right? In order for you to successfully absorb new information, it will require you to relate what you already knew and connect it with your previous experiences. So this can possibly be done using advanced organizers. This can help you understand what you are being taught and remember it later. We've also got a query from Paso de Blas National High School. How evident is information overload during this time of pandemic? Well, that was such a great question. For almost 2 years of being quarantined, we must admit that we spent most of our time with our gadgets surfing the internet, watching television, or sometimes listening to the radio. Well, we do this to keep ourselves updated with the current condition of our country. We are constantly bombarded with information through various channels and situations as noteworthy as COVID-19. However, with an overload of information or information overload, this can become overwhelming. One major problem that comes with information overload is misinformation, and that is very evident nowadays. As a matter of fact, regarding the countless sources out there, especially ones on social media, much of the information surrounding COVID-19 is conflicting and inaccurate. Thus, we have to remain vigilant in the era of COVID-19 information overload. Thank you for sending us your questions. It just shows that you really listened to our discussion and that you have learned a lot from our session today. Again, learners, questions which were not addressed today will be discussed by your English teacher on your follow-up discussion. I also believe that you are now ready to answer the activities on your learning packet. For additional concerns and clarification, your discussion teacher would accommodate you on your follow-up discussion via Google Meet or Google Classroom. Still, nobody knows when this pandemic will end. But one thing is for sure, education is endless. Just like what the current Department of Education battle cry says, anuman ang sitwasyon, tuloy ang edukasyon. This is Ma'am Aileen Crisostomo, your virtual teacher. Thank you for watching. Till our next virtual engagement.